Sanjay Jha, Meenakshi Lekhi of Hamara Congress and the BJP. Also joining us, Leela Ponnappa, former Deputy National Security Advisor. My first question is to Mr. Parthasarathy. Mr. Parthasarathy, have we got our strategy somewhere completely flawed? Is it time for a reassessment of how we have been looking at Pakistan, especially given the growing influence of General Kiani?
Well, let me put it this way. We had diplomacy is conducted on a careful assessment of the situation in the adversary or the neighboring country. We had it right till about, for UPA 1, till about 2007, when President Musharraf, we assessed, would stay by his promise not to allow terrorism against India from Pakistani soil. We went horribly wrong with UPA 2 when we didn't assess the change which came about with the General Kiani replacing President Musharraf, and a weak government which had no control over the army. I mean, the president sends his home minister to the army headquarters, and General Kiani denies the home minister permission to enter the army headquarters. Now, anybody who studied General Kiani knows that since 1998, he is hardcore anti-Indian, favoring infiltration. Now, the first signs came in Afghanistan when the Afghans told us that the attack which killed a brigadier-level Indian military attaché and a councillor was orchestrated from across the Durand line from Pakistan. This was followed by more attacks against us in Afghanistan. And then 26/11 came. And it was also a huge failure on the part of us to act on actionable intelligence. We were so cozy about dialogue with Pakistan, disregarding they killed an Indian brigadier in Kabul. Well, 26/11 we paid the price for. Then went to Sharm el-Sheikh and then said that we are deeply sorry, they are accusing us of Baluchistan and we will have an irreversible dialogue, and nothing was said of 26/11. So the Pakistanis have taken us for a bunch of suckers, to put it mildly. And what they are doing is upping the ante across the LOC with infiltration, and the infiltration is largely Lashkar. And those they are infiltrating are killing sarpanches and panchayat members to undermine democracy in Kashmir. So what happens? The Indian army fires back when they are infiltrating. They escalate and mutilate our soldiers. The least we should have done, and this is the most shameful thing, after the soldiers were mutilated, at least as a measure of protest, we should have recalled our High Commissioner for consultations. That is the very least.
But why didn't we?
Other countries do in such circumstances. No,
but why didn't we? I want to present 2 points to Leela Ponnappa as I try and draw.
Why didn't we? Just a minute. Why didn't we? Because we have boxed ourselves into a position of dialogue only, and dialogue on terms set by Pakistan. I'm not against dialogue. I want more Pakistanis to visit India. I want a people-to-people friendship. I have nothing against all this. More trade. But unless you get tough on terrorism, including stepping up covert operations inside Pakistan and developing capabilities similar to what happened in Abbottabad when Osama bin Laden was taken out, you're going to get nowhere, because you have a situation where you have friendly political leaders, whether it is Nawaz Sharif or Altaf Hussain or Zardari or Afsandyar Wali Khan, but they are unable to do anything on terrorism, either on India or Pakistan or Afghanistan. And now Afghanistan is cooling off, so they are going to turn more to India. This government has just lost the plot. It has a bunch of amateurs who know nothing of the internal politics of Pakistan or the role of the army there. And we are paying the price.
Opening up this for debate, I find it interesting that in July 2011, and before I go to Meenakshi Lekhi, let's get the more conservative pro-government point of view from Sanjay Jha. In July 2011, two things happened. One, two troopers of the 20 Kumaon regiment, as has now come out in the media, are beheaded by the Pakistanis. On the other side, we go and say that we cannot wish away the fact, the statement in the Lok Sabha, July 29, 2009. We cannot wish away the fact that Pakistan is our neighbor. Do you believe, Sanjay Jha, that UPA 2 messed it up? That UPA 2 gave away too much right at the start? I mean, right after the general elections of 2009, all this talk about how can there be a peaceful, inclusive and democratic India not have a destiny with Pakistan. We are locked in a shared destiny. We must have a permanent peace. This whole talk about an uninterrupted and uninterruptible dialogue that is repeated ad nauseum by certain sections in India. We gave a sense, and that's what Mr. Partsati, we gave a sense that it is onus is on us.
No, listen, in fairness, UPA 1 conducted its relations with Pakistan in a very mature way. They went wrong in the assessment of the internal dynamics of Pakistani politics, the rise of General Kayani and the jihadi generals in Pakistan, and have not adjusted to that reality of having a nuanced relationship of dealing in one way with the political leadership and giving the Pakistan army a hammering.
Sanjay Jha, we gave away too much.
Can I respond?
We didn't even respond when our soldiers were being beheaded. Not this time, but earlier.
Arnab, let me tell you, let me answer. There is, every time there is a discussion about India and Pakistan, there is always this implicit and very often explicit and extremely vocal criticism of what happened at Sharm el-Sheikh. And second, that because we have continued with the stance of having a diplomatic dialogue with Pakistan, it makes India a soft state. I don't think so. I honestly believe that, one of the most pragmatic decisions at Sharm el-Sheikh was looking at the fact that if you look at the country's historical context and more important, the future, I think the government was right in looking at the stakes India has in terms of a hostile relationship with an inimical neighbor of the past, vis-a-vis one with whom perhaps there should be an effort made to, try and see what kind of a solution can be brought forth. India's stake today, and let me add that because this is a point that very often we get into just nothing but a lot of political rhetoric about whether there should be a limited intervention, whether there should be more aggressive diplomacy. But I believe, Arnab, India in today's changing global context has a lot more at stake if things go wrong between India and Pakistan, or conversely things go right. No, I'm putting it down. If India has any degree of, perceived worldwide as a very, everybody knows it's a very dangerous territory. Pakistan, everybody recognizes, Arnab. We don't have to be hawkish about that. It's a dangerous country. It is fractured. It's got
that's not the point.
Within,
no, that's
about
not
Pakistan, Taliban, United States withdrawing from Afghanistan.
No,
these are some hard realities.
Sanjay, one second. I think Mr. Partsati raised his hand out there.
And that's something we cannot
I'll get in Mr. Partsati and then Meenakshi Lekhi also. The fact is, we follow a predictable pattern in our relationship.
Look, I entirely agree. It is ridiculous not to have a dialogue. From the very beginning, I have said we should improve trade and economic relations. We should improve our ties on people-to-people contacts. I'm all in favor of that. But this dialogue has to be nuanced and properly framed. We have allowed Pakistan to remove the salience of terrorism. Come back to us and tell us, oh, you admitted Balochistan, you are doing Balochistan what we did in Mumbai. That is very, very dangerous.
Let me ask
you this please continue the dialogue.
You have been a seasoned diplomat. You have been looking at India-Pakistan very closely. Would you agree that Indian government, especially the UPA, did manage to successfully put a lot of international pressure on Pakistan post-2611? I know we are still looking at a resolution to that, but it resulted in a lot of diplomatic isolation, a lot of international attention, where Pakistan almost got branded as a terrorist state.
Listen, I'm not in politics. Let me say that both the NDA and the UPA handled their relationship with the United States substantially well. Both had that power put. But we conveyed a clear message to Pakistan that we were at a loss to do anything in response to terrorism. In Sharm el-Sheikh, I had spoken to your Congress party people. In private, they acknowledge you went wrong. So, let me leave it at that. All I am saying is, have a nuanced policy, keep in touch with politicians, improve people-to-people relations, but don't go to dialogue for dialogue's sake. It's not a mantra. Therefore, have a nuanced dialogue. You know, before we resumed the dialogue and got an assurance from Pakistan, for 2 years, Brajesh Mishra had secret discussions with the Pakistanis. Satinder Lamba from the UPA government had excellent secret discussions. I am merely saying you've lost your way when you did not realize the implications of Kayani replacing Musharraf and a weak government which could not control the army. And now the time has come, to be honest, to have the capabilities to cause them as much harm as they cause us. Targeted at the military. And I know from the days of Indira Gandhi, we had these capabilities.
And you recommend that...
No, 1 second. Now I want
to... full knowledge...
No, 1 second.
That Pakistan could be a dangerous proposition. You see, for them...
Sir, 1 minute.
Probably a provocation, sir, this is some kind of a limited instigation may not mean much. I mean, there are also nuclear arms states and irresponsible. That is the worry. It's irresponsible.
I'd like to 1 second, gentlemen.
Multiple authorities...
My question is... 1 minute, gentlemen, 1 minute.
In effect, you're saying, let Pakistan come and run all over us and we do nothing in return.
Yeah. In effect, Sanjay Jha, what you're saying is...
That is not the way foreign policy is
what you're saying. 1 second, Sanjay Jha. I'm going to get a political response and then I'm coming to Leela Ponappa because we lost the satellite link with her earlier. 1 minute, please. First, I want to get a political reaction. Leela Ponappa, I know you present the other strategic perspective. It's different from G. Parthasarathi. I'll come to you for a full reaction. But Leela Ponappa, before that, to Meenakshi Lekhi.
Not necessarily different.
Oh, not necessarily different. I appreciate that. I will not try and create differences where there are none. But Mr. Parthasarathi says negotiations don't happen by presenting yourself as sitting ducks. This whole business of being sitting ducks has gone on for too far. Meenakshi Lekhi first, to the points made by Sanjay Jha that the onus is on us more, that we have more to lose.
I don't... I think we have gained enough from conducting the manner in which we have conducted ourselves in running our country. We do not really have anything to lose. We had gained even in exposing terrorist links of the Pakistan. 26/11 gave us the opportunity and we have lost the opportunity. Against Samjhauta, there was a United Nations Security Council resolution declaring Pakistan was responsible, and for our internal politics we have allowed a different point of view to erupt because internal politics and subjugating certain factors was more important than internationalizing the issue and dealing with Pakistan firmly. We have lost the track and we have lost what the plan was. The plan has to be, and I agree partially with what Mr. Parthasarathi is saying, that we can't be sitting ducks. At the same time, I mean, there's a saying, us bujang se dar kya jiske paas garal na ho, meaning if you don't have the poison, you really are no snake and nobody has to be afraid of you.
Has your government been consistent earlier?
What is happening to India.
Has the BJP been
and
consistent
the government
when
has
it has
been
been in power?
completely
One minute. Now, Meenakshi Lekhi.
Of course BJP has been.
Have you been consistent? Have you been consistent?
Of course we have been consistent.
Really?
And
have you been consistent? I thought in Parliament... No, 1 second,
yes,
please.
we have been consistent.
I'll tell you why. No, 1 minute.
We have been consistent.
You mark...
And,
no, 1 minute,
you're not letting me speak.
Meenakshi Lekhi,
you're not letting me speak. You're not letting me speak.
A 10-second intervention to prove that, to question you on consistency. You know, from pronouncing in Parliament that, and I quote, now India has to embark on an aar par ki ladai, unquote, a war to the finish, right? To, in April 18, 2003, saying a fresh hand of friendship has to be extended to Pakistan. I don't know if there has been great consistency and of levels of tolerance, even when you were in power, greatly changed during the NDA government. I am not wrong. If I am wrong, Mr. Parthasarathi, correct me right now.
No,
I'm
not on that.
I don't want to find fault with anyone politically.
No, but I'm only on the point of consistency.
All I'm saying is, yes, there is totally inconsistent to have invited Musharraf to Agra.
Exactly, that's the
after
point.
the Red Fort had been attacked by the Lashkar-e-Taiba.
That's the point.
So let's be very real. But we are all talking as Indians, and I'm not getting into the politics of who's right or who's wrong. All I'm saying is, let's get tough.
Arnab,
and let me say this, that the negotiations
I want to state that. I can't speak for Brajesh Mishra, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm speaking for what has happened now post 2007. I'm speaking when 2 soldiers in 2011 have been beheaded, there was no reaction. I'm speaking for the soldier which has been beheaded right now, and again there is no reaction. We are going on speaking about trade and all kinds of visa policies. What is it taking us to? And how have we isolated Pakistan? Again, answer is no. Our dialogue is again inconsistent. There is an ambivalence to the policy. I'm saying let there be a government A, let there be a government B, let there be a firm policy in place as to how one has to deal with Pakistan.
So there is no unified...
because there is no consistency in that, we are suffering.
Yeah,
and let me point out 2 things. Let me point out 2 things.
Meenakshi Lekhi, the only consistency is the lack of consistency.
Let me point out 2 things so far as this particular incident is concerned. Let it not be limited to this incident. And even on this incident, leader of opposition spoke to the NSA, requested that we are with the government on any tough stand that the government needs to speak on or take. There was no response. There was no response as to how one has to deal with the widow of the person who has been sacrificed for the nation.
I think
there was no response, and today, for the first time, people have started reacting after leader of opposition
I would only say
now, this is not what is expected of the government machinery.
Instead of Akhilesh going one and then BJP going, it would have been better if an all-party parliament delegation had visited the martyrs' family. It would have been much more sense. My question to Leela Ponnappa is this. You know, do we need to have a unified universal policy? And do you agree with G. Parthasarathy, who says it's time to punch them back and punch them hard for once?
Absolutely. I think first of all, it is time for us to get rid of illusions. There are too many illusions that have been built up over the past few years, and I think all parties have had a hand in this at different times, about the prospect of enduring peace with Pakistan. The realities of Pakistan have to be recognized in terms of who exercises power, what their strategic objectives are, and above all, what their attitudes to India are, because that forms the basis of all their strategic thinking, number one. Number two, with regard to the present situation, what happened on the LOC was horrible, but it is entirely consistent with the behavior of the Pakistan security forces. So it is really nothing that we should be surprised about. We should have learned from history.
Now, how is that a counter?
Thirdly,
history does not have the fault lines in history must not repeat themselves.
No, let me finish, Arnab. Arnab, I have waited this long, let me finish. There have been too many mixed signals. On the one hand, we talk about all options being open after the Mumbai attacks. The President of India in Parliament says that we have a zero tolerance policy on terrorism. And yet, even while justice for Mumbai and for all the other terrorist attacks, including the suburban trains, is awaited, you have legal trivialization of the whole thing, and you have impromptu summitry at Mohali. You have cricket, you have really a setting aside of terrorism as the main agenda. So there has to be an end to mixed signals. Now you and many others have talked about the need for consistency. You have talked about the need for consistency, and the consistency has to be based on a very clear, not just definition, but articulation of national interest, which the government conveys to the public. And I think the government needs to communicate very much more effectively with the public on this.
You see, 1 minute. I just want a very simple layman question. How can your strategy, your policy towards Pakistan rest on an intangible called hope? How does this happen?
No, it cannot. It has
but that's what we have done.
On a very clear assessment of, look, until from July 2010 up to a few months ago, Pakistan was on a charm offensive. And there were many in this country who believed it. I have said it on your channel, and I have used these words. It started with Hina Rabbani Khar's visit. You had the MFN announcement, for which the notification still has not yet come. You had the Zardari visit. You had all of this. And yet, you had the then Foreign Secretary, now the High Commissioner to India, talking about the literature that the Indian Foreign Secretary gave on Mumbai. You've had the Pakistan Foreign Minister saying, forget it. So,
no, I know, but you know, this charm offensive.
You have to be consistent.
No, I know. No, but in November 2011 at the SAARC summit, the Prime Minister said this, and I quote him, Mr. Partsa. He said, I did discuss with Prime Minister Gilani, who he later described as a man of peace, whether the Pakistani army is fully on board to carry forward with the peace process. And he says, the sense I got was that after a long time, Pakistan's armed forces are fully on board. Were we gullible to think so, knowing General Kiani's background? That's the point.
I think the very fact that such a statement was made goes to show that, I mean, was it thinkable that anybody would say that the Indian army is on board?
Are we not seasoned enough
of our structure?
Are we not seasoned enough to see through?
Shows that the Pakistan army runs the establishment.
Yeah, so why don't we see through it? Yes.
Listen, Arunab. I have a point to make.
Arunab, I want to make a point.
It is stupid of us to expect they are going to give up terrorism against India when they have not given up terrorism against the United States in Afghanistan. What world are we living in? The Pakistan army has funded jihadis and supported them in Afghanistan. They have supported them in India. Now let me say, I am not a warmonger. I am not saying go to war. I am saying develop capabilities to inflict pain which the Pakistan army cannot bear.
Surgical strikes.
Don't pretend that and listen to what Gilani or Hina Rabbani Khar think. The Pakistan army holds them to contempt.
For too long, the discourse has been about non-state actors, and we have to recognize that everything that happens
non-state
is really
actors
based
are the same.
on state support for terrorism.
One sec, Meenakshi Lekhi was making a point. I have 1 minute left on the debate. Meenakshi Lekhi, and then a final word from Sanjay Jha. Yes, Meenakshi Lekhi.
You see, the state and the non-state actors are one and the same thing in Pakistan. So whereas Pakistan is concerned, they run the governance. And they talk in folk tongue all the time. That is part of their policy. So keep supporting the non-state actors and keep disassociating yourself from the non-state actors. Keep pretending you're on peace talks and keep attacking. This is the manner in which their policy is run. And not once. Now 2611 is subsided. Afzal still remains. And Kasab goes, somebody else still comes. Hafiz Saeed, again no action. They keep saying produce the documents.
The foreign minister.
When you talk about United Nations Security Council thing, again you're not coming up. So keep talking this and keep sending terrorists in one form or the other. They will infiltrate from the borders and they will come via visas which you are willing to give them.
Absolutely. Nobody wants war, but it is the foreign minister.
And in the process, invite Dawood Ibrahim Samandi, who openly claims that he is a great admirer of Dawood Ibrahim.
Almost came, was stopped at the last minute.
And these people, will keep sending their players, they will keep sending their singers and keep taking money out of this country.
Sending mixed signals and we must get rid of any illusions. Follow
the army and the government need to speak in the same language.
For what it is.
Mr. Jha, everyone's achieved a consensus here. Why do you want to be the odd one out? Are you not sensing the mood of the nation? Are you not sensing the mood of the nation? Even the Congress Party senior leaders.
Absolutely.
Even Congress Party senior leaders.
Let me tell you, the Congress Party
have talked of a proportionate and strong response.
Well, I can tell you there are two factors here. Number one,
I hope they can bring the Prime Minister and his office in line with the party.
Sent a very emphatic statement about what are India's capabilities. Number one, I think the General himself said that the way it has been handled.
We don't want statements, we want action.
Has been speaking very vocally. Is being done in a correct fashion. Number three, now let me make a third point. You know, we flatter Pakistan here if you believe that after decisive military triumph over Pakistan Pakistan over 4 wars, if we believe that Pakistan is really preparing for a war against India, I think we are being extremely kind to our neighbor.
Yeah.
And point number 4, I think we need to go back and look into history here. When you look at
them.
1 minute,
Speak the language they understand.
One simple example.
Arnab, I think this matter should be handled devoid of politics.
In between Israel and Palestine, whenever they have had conflict, it has not really resulted in any improvement in their relationships. So somewhere down the line, even if Pakistan is responsible, India needs to send a tough message. I don't think anybody is...
Mr. Jha, how can we in India, how can anyone in India, no, we make it end the politics over Pakistan. If Mike Mullen can see it, if Cameron Munter said it, if Leon Panetta said it after Osama was killed, then I don't see any reason why the people of this country and all political parties cannot agree on Pak's links with terror and call it off once and for all. To my panelists tonight, I thank you very much. My question goes out to every News Hour viewer. Do you believe that the time has come for a change in strategy vis-a-vis Pakistan? I'd like to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, see you again tomorrow evening, 9 p.m.